Chapter 1. The Eternal Youth. In the ancient, crowded hearts of globular clusters, where stars are supposed to be billions of years old and fading into a dull red glow, astronomers have discovered a group of celestial outcasts that appear impossibly young. These anomalies, known as blue stragglers, defy the standard laws of stellar evolution by remaining hot and vibrant long after their peers have exhausted their nuclear fuel. For decades, they were a mathematical impossibility, appearing as youthful ghosts in regions of space where no new star formation has occurred for over 10 billion years. They sit comfortably on the main sequence of the star charts, mocking the timeline of the universe and challenging our understanding of how a sun is born and how it dies. While their neighbors are bloated red giants preparing to collapse into white dwarfs, the blue stragglers burn with a blue-white fury that suggests a recent and violent origin. We're looking at a population of stars that have somehow hit the reset button on their own biological clocks, bypassing the inevitable march toward total darkness. To see a blue straggler is to witness a miracle of physics, but as we look closer, we realize that this miracle is fueled by a terrifying act of cosmic theft. Chapter 2. The Vampire's Kiss. The secret to the blue straggler's eternal youth lies in a process known as mass transfer, a slow and silent theft of hydrogen from a nearby binary companion. Locked in a gravitational embrace, the more massive star begins to strip away the outer layers of its smaller neighbor, drinking in the fresh hydrogen fuel it needs to stay alive. This vampire star effectively resets its nuclear furnace, adding new layers of fuel to its core and allowing it to burn hotter and brighter than it ever should have. As the donor star is drained of its lifeblood, it begins to shrink and fade, eventually becoming a hollowed-out shell of its former self, known as a white dwarf. The blue straggler is not a new creation, but a refurbished one, a star that has been built from the wreckage and stolen energy of its own family. This parasitic relationship can last for millions of years, a slow-motion consumption that takes place in the absolute silence of the deep vacuum. We are watching a celestial drama where one sun must be sacrificed so that another may continue to shine against the encroaching dark. Chapter 3. The Collision Event. In the most crowded sectors of the galaxy, blue stragglers can also be formed through an even more violent process, the direct collision of two independent suns. When two stars slam into each other at hundreds of miles per second, they don't just explode, they merge into a single, hypermassive zombie star. This catastrophic merger creates a sudden spike in pressure and temperature, instantly igniting a new, massive cycle of nuclear fusion that would normally be impossible. The resulting blue straggler is a Frankenstein's monster of the cosmos, a hybrid sun made from the combined mass and history of two separate entities. These collision-born stars are often found in the core of globular clusters, where the density of stars is so high that such accidents are a statistical certainty. Every time two stars collide, the universe creates a beacon of false youth that hides a history of total, unimaginable destruction. It is a world born of fire and impact, a sun that exists only because two others were destroyed to create it. Chapter 4. The Blue Trap. To a distant observer, a blue straggler appears as a hopeful sign of life, a bright blue light in a sea of aging, dim red stars that suggests a new beginning. However, any planet orbiting such a star would find itself in a lethal, unstable environment governed by a sun that is fundamentally out of balance. The radiation levels emitted by a blue straggler are far more intense than those of a standard yellow or red star, potentially stripping away the atmospheres of any nearby worlds. Furthermore, because these stars are often the result of mergers or mass theft, their gravitational pull is constantly fluctuating, leading to chaotic planetary orbits. A world that was once habitable under a stable yellow sun would be incinerated or ejected into the void when its host star becomes a blue straggler. The blue trap is a celestial deception, a bright, inviting light that masks a history of theft and a future of radiation-soaked death. We are looking at a sun that has cheated death, but in doing so, it has made the space around it a graveyard for any potential life. Chapter 5. The Clock of the Galaxy. Blue stragglers serve as a terrifying reminder that the age of a star cluster is not as simple or as final as we once believed it to be. By resetting their clocks, these stars confuse our ability to measure the history of the galaxy, acting as temporal anomalies in the deep dark. They prove that even in the most ancient and settled parts of the universe, the laws of nature can be bypassed through violence and opportunism. Scientists use these stars to study the limits of nuclear fusion, watching how a star behaves when it is given a second, stolen chance at life. They are the outliers of the cosmic dataset, the rebels that refuse to follow the predictable path from birth to the white dwarf grave. Every blue straggler we find is a piece of a puzzle that tells a story of a crowded, competitive universe where the strong consume the weak. The galaxy is not a static museum of aging stars, but a living, breathing machine that is constantly recycling its own light. Chapter 6: The Final Collapse. Despite their stolen youth, the blue stragglers are ultimately doomed to face an even more violent end than the stars they consumed. Because they are often far more massive than standard stars, they burn through their stolen hydrogen fuel at a rate that is exponentially faster. Their second life is a brief, intense flash that will inevitably lead to a catastrophic gravitational collapse. Many blue stragglers will end their lives as supernovae, a final, blinding explosion that will scatter their stolen mass across the surrounding cluster. In some cases, the core that remains will be so dense that it forms a black hole, a permanent scar in the fabric of space that consumes everything its parent star once stole. The zombie star that refused to die will eventually become a ghost of an entirely different kind, a silent predator that gives no light back to the universe. It is the ultimate price for cheating time, a stolen life followed by an eternal, crushing darkness. Chapter 7: The Detection of Shadows. Detecting a blue straggler requires more than just looking for blue light. It requires a deep dive into the ultraviolet spectrum where their true nature is revealed. Space telescopes like Hubble and James Webb hunt for these stars by looking for excess heat in regions of space that should be cold and dead. We often find them by listening to the gravitational hum they create as they spin at high speeds, a byproduct of their violent mergers. These stars are often surrounded by a faint, ghostly shell of gas, the remains of the companion star they just finished devouring. Every new blue straggler discovered is a window into a violent event that took place millions of years ago, a cosmic cold case solved by light. We are only now realizing how common these vampire stars are, lurking in the shadows of nearly every old star cluster in the Milky Way. They are the secret survivors of the galaxy, a hidden population that has mastered the art of staying young in a dying universe. Chapter 8: The Message of the Stragglers. As we look at the blue stragglers, we are forced to confront the idea that the universe is not as predictable or as fair as we would like it to be. They remind us that survival in the deep cosmos often requires a radical and sometimes violent adaptation to one's environment. While the rest of the stars follow a path of quiet decline, the blue stragglers represent the chaos factor that keeps the universe interesting and unpredictable. They are a testament to the fact that even in the absolute cold and dark, energy can be reclaimed and life can be extended through sheer force of gravity. Perhaps one day, we will find that these stars are not just accidents, but a natural stage of evolution for the most crowded parts of the cosmos. Until then, they will remain the beautiful, terrifying zombies of the Milky Way, burning bright with the stolen light of their neighbors. The blue stragglers are a warning and a wonder, a sign that in the deep dark, nothing is ever truly finished.